They planned my death in my own bedroom, called it a clean robbery. She called me a loser. I set the traps and I made her watch every second. I've killed 17 men. Each one has a face that sometimes visits me at 3 a.m. when the Oregon rain taps against the bedroom window like fingernails of ghosts. But I sleep beside Madeline, and for years that was enough to quiet them. Until 6 months ago, the first sign was subtle. Her phone face down whenever I entered the room. Then came the unexplained late nights at her online fashion design company. A company with no fixed address I could verify. 22 years in special operations and 10 with the agency had trained me to notice patterns. And something in my marriage had shifted. I watched her sleeping beside me, her breathing too measured, too controlled. The Marine in me said reconnaissance before engagement. The husband in me hoped I was wrong. I wasn't. Tuesday morning I found it. An unfamiliar perfume on her collar, lipstick smudged on my own dress shirt sleeve that I hadn't worn in weeks. She'd planted evidence on my clothing. Old tradecraft, sloppy execution. "You're so predictable, Cole," she'd said last Friday. Wine glass dangling between manicured fingers. Voice slightly slurred but eyes sharp as tacks. That night she slept in the guest room. Called it a migraine. I didn't confront her. Instead I deployed what I knew best. Surveillance. A GPS tracker magnetized under her Audi's rear bumper. A micro-transmitter sewn into the lining of her favorite handbag, remote extraction software installed on her devices during her shower. Pinhole cameras in the nightlight and shoe rack. CIA surplus that never made any official inventory. The data came in clean Wednesdays and Saturdays. 1:00 to 4:00 p.m. consistent meetings with a male subject. Hotel charges on a credit card I didn't know existed. Expensive gifts purchased with cash withdrawals from our joint account. I found encrypted messages hidden in image metadata through her photo editing app. Amateur hour encryption, really. It took me 3 minutes to crack, leading me to a name, Troy Slater. Background check revealed a 35-year-old fitness trainer with ambitions bigger than his bank account, Corvette rented for appearances. Using my wife's credentials to purchase black market gym equipment from Eastern Europe, previous lawsuit for fraudulent fitness transformation claims, and a sealed domestic violence charge against an ex-girlfriend, settled out of court. I compiled it all meticulously, each piece of evidence cataloged with military precision. Still, I needed confirmation. Something undeniable. It came at 12:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. Temperature outside 43 a.m. Rainfall light but persistent. Location inside our bedroom closet behind her summer dresses. One hand on my tactical knife, the other on my Glock 19. Not to use, just comfort weight in my palm. Madeline stumbled in reeking of expensive perfume and whiskey, giggling softly in the darkness. I activated the recorder. "Babe, he's asleep. You can send them in. Remember to make it look like a robbery." Troy's voice through the phone speaker. "You sure about this?" 100%. "I'm tired of playing the dutiful wife. The house, the money, the business. It'll all be mine when he's gone." I didn't draw my weapon. I just sat still, eyes dead, heart pounding against my ribcage with each betrayal-laced word. This woman who had lain beside me for over a decade, who had whispered, "I love you," through tears, was arranging my execution. Not just infidelity, not just theft, a calculated murder. I moved silently down to the basement, sliding back the false wall behind the furnace, revealing a safe Madeline never knew existed. My finger pressed against the biometric scanner. Then I entered the passcode. Zulu Echo. The green light blinked. Protocol. Helix was ready. Protocol Helix wasn't just a contingency plan. It was an entire household counterintelligence system I'd installed during our second year of marriage. Back when I still believed love and paranoia could coexist. The system had remained dormant, collecting dust alongside my doubts. Until now, I synced the network in under 8 minutes. Muscle memory from years of field deployments. Infrared cameras concealed in wall seams with 180-degree lenses. Motion sensors disguised as lamp bases and window hardware. Pressure-sensitive filaments threaded through the drywall. A miniature server buried beneath the basement floorboards running on an independent satellite uplink, unhackable from standard external networks, all of it invisible to the untrained eye, invisible to Madeline. The next morning arrived with painful normalcy. Sunlight streamed through kitchen windows as Madeline flipped pancakes, pouring maple syrup with the precision of a Betty Crocker fever dream. She wore my white button-down shirt, oversized no bra, a classic play to lower a man's defenses. I watched her like I'd studied countless interrogation subjects before. Her hands trembled slightly when spearing strawberries. Her eyes darted repeatedly toward the window, anticipating something she'd sprinkled too much cinnamon on the pancakes, a nervous tell I'd cataloged years ago. "Beautiful day," I said, maintaining the performance. "How about we go hiking?" "That's a great idea," she replied, lips curving into a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Sometimes we need to detox from life's stresses. Life's stresses, like planning your husband's murder." The exterior surveillance was already sending alerts to my encrypted phone. At 5:12 a.m., a black SUV had parked beneath the oak trees at the corner, male occupant in a long coat pretending to read a newspaper, but turning pages in non-sequential order. At 4:32 a.m., motion sensors had detected footsteps behind our property, followed by the soft testing of our back gate latch. The neighbor's German Shepherd had been barking steadily toward our fence line, not toward the street. Dogs always know when something's wrong. Madeline sat across from me, trying to control the conversation. "You've been distracted lately. Is something bothering you?" Her fingers drummed against the tabletop, a metronome of anxiety. I met her gaze directly. "I've been thinking about what happens when people stop pretending." She swallowed, visibly, a flash of panic crossing her features before she could suppress it. Her phone vibrated against the table, and she immediately flipped it face down. I stood up, walking to the sink to rinse my coffee mug. Then I leaned down, lips almost brushing her ear. "Do you ever wonder if the past we thought was buried could come back to life?" The color drained from her face. By 2:35 p.m., thermal imaging detected 2 heat signatures, approaching from different directions. One from the garage side, one from the roof access point. I completed my final equipment check with methodical precision. Kitchen cameras, hallway wall units, and the pendant light over the balcony would capture everything. The signal jammer would isolate any unknown devices. My visitors would be cut off from outside communication. I retrieved a second Glock 19 from the knife drawer, attaching the suppressor. With a practiced quarter turn, I positioned another weapon, a Smith & Wesson, in the coffee table's hidden compartment. A tripwire stretched across the downstairs hallway, connected to a silent alarm that would trigger if broken. I disabled all cameras not on my secure network. There would be no evidence beyond what I controlled. The board was set. The pieces were moving. And I, for the first time since discovering my wife's betrayal, felt completely calm. My military instructors used to say that in the moments before combat, time stretches like elastic seconds become minutes. Details sharpen. The mind clears of everything except survival priorities. I checked my watch, 5:57 p.m. My eyes locked onto the thermal display. 2 red signatures now standing directly outside the back door. One was drawing a weapon. She had called it a robbery. But this was no staged break-in. This was an execution, and I would not be the one lying dead when it ended. The thermal sensors pulsed with 2 distinct signatures closing in on my position. Signature 1 approaching from the left side of the garage, slim build, gray hoodie, light footsteps, but amateur movement patterns. The kind of guy who thinks shadows provide sufficient concealment, but walks directly through motion detection zones. Signature 2, coming from the roof, much larger frame, bald head, tactical gloves. The backpack silhouette suggested a folding stock weapon. This one moved with more purpose, more training. My cameras captured their approach in high-definition clarity. Hoodie paused behind the outdoor trash bins, surveying the property for approximately 15 seconds before drawing a Glock 17 from his waistband. Meanwhile, Baldy was slithering across the porch roof, expertly jimmying open the upstairs window, the one whose lock I'd intentionally compromised hours earlier. I slipped on a flannel jacket with a body cam sewn into the second button, positioned the first Glock in my waistband at the small of my back, held the suppressor-equipped second weapon in a relaxed grip. Combat breathing, 4 counts in 4 counts, hold 4 counts out. I killed all ground floor lights. The only illumination came from street lamps filtering through the curtains, casting long shadows across the hardwood. I positioned myself behind the recessed refrigerator door. 3 meters from the kitchen entrance, perfect engagement distance. The main entrance was secured, and I'd activated the floor sensors. Anyone crossing the hallway would trigger a soft alert through my earpiece. Listening, waiting. The back door opened with barely a whisper. They'd found the spare key I'd left in the potted plant. Hoodie entered first, weapon drawn, checking corners, with the hesitant movements of someone who'd learned tactics from video games rather than training grounds. He stepped into the kitchen threshold. I emerged from behind the refrigerator door, my suppressed Glock aimed directly at his face. "Drop the weapon now." My voice was steel. Emotionless. His eyes widened, mouth opening in shock. His hands trembled, but he had enough sense to let his gun clatter to the floor. A floorboard creaked in the hallway. Baldy appeared in the doorframe, assessed the situation, and began raising his weapon. Before he could level it, I fired a single round into the wooden floor between them. The sharp crack and splintering wood startled both men into immobility. "One stupid move," I said calmly, "and the next one goes through your skull." I ordered them both to their knees, hands behind their heads. Military restraint position. They complied without resistance, the universal body language of men who realized they'd walked into a professional's trap. I patted them down efficiently, recovered 2 pistols, 3 folding knives, a short-range radio communicator, and multiple burner phone SIM cards, with their serial numbers filed off. Amateur hour, but dangerous amateurs. "Who sent you?" I demanded. Hoodie spoke, first voice cracking. "Guy named Rayburn set it up, middleman. We don't know who's behind it." "Instructions." I pressed. "Enter at 6 sharp. Quick job. Take some valuables to make it look like a robbery gone bad." I nodded. 10,000 each to kill me. That's discount rate work. You didn't even know who you were working for." Baldy's eyes shifted nervously. "Listen, man, we're just contractors, nothing personal." "It's always personal to the target," I replied coldly. I secured them with military-grade zip ties, positioning them against the wall where my cameras had clear sight lines. I removed the memory card from my body cam, inserted it into my backup system, and attached a microphone that would live stream to my encrypted channel insurance policy. Then I called upstairs. "Madeline, come down here now." Silence stretched for 20 seconds. Then soft footsteps. She appeared at the staircase landing wearing my old gray hoodie, her face pale, hands visibly shaking. The shock registered in her widening eyes as she took in the scene. 2 restrained hitmen. My weapon, the cameras recording everything. She attempted composure, but her right eyelid twitched. A tell I'd noticed years ago during our first poker game together. "Cole, what is this?" Her voice wavered perfectly between confusion and fear. Academy Award-worthy performance. I held up my phone and played the recording. "Babe, he's asleep. You can send them in. Remember to make it look like a robbery." Her face transformed like time-lapse photography. First shock, then panic, hatred, and finally, most chilling of all, calm acceptance. The mask fell away completely. The woman I thought I knew disappeared, replaced by a cold-eyed stranger wearing my wife's face. I stared directly into her eyes. She stared back without a single tear. Then she pivoted suddenly, bolting toward the front door. She'd forgotten one detail, the tripwire I'd strung across the hallway. Her foot caught it perfectly. The fall was spectacular, arms flailing, body horizontal before crashing face first onto the hardwood floor. A fitting finale to her performance, Madeline hit the hardwood with a sickening thud. Her face slammed against the floor, splitting her lower lip. Blood bloomed across the oak boards, a small crimson stain spreading beneath her face. She groaned, momentarily stunned. I approached her deliberately, weapon still in hand, crouching beside her. I whispered directly into her ear, voice low and controlled. "You're not going anywhere. In this game of chess, I'm playing the black pieces." She spat blood onto the floor, a harsh laugh bubbling through the red. "So what now? You gonna shoot me?" Her eyes held no fear, only defiance. Not the reaction of an innocent person caught in a misunderstanding. The reaction of a predator whose trap had unexpectedly snapped on their own fingers. "Killing you would be too easy." I said, my voice flat as desert sand. "I want you to live, to feel everything being taken away piece by piece, just like you took from me." She pushed herself up to sitting position back against the wall, lip still dripping. "You're a paranoid psychopath, Cole." You never trusted me. Never let me be a real woman. A real woman. I remained perfectly still. You chose a debt-ridden gym rat over someone who took bullets for his team. You don't know how to love. She screamed, mask completely shattered now. You live inside your head. I wanted to feel alive. I was tired of being your goddamn trophy. I looked at her silently, measuring each word before I spoke. I did love you, but you don't deserve forgiveness. The silence stretched between us like a taut wire. 10 years of marriage dissolved in acid. I pressed the call button on my secure phone. Contact Phoenix 9 package secured. 2 external threats, 1 internal compromised asset. Video documentation and testimonials obtained. The voice on the other end was professional, emotionless. Understood, send coordinates, cleanup team ETA 12 minutes. I transmitted the location data. The screen displayed Team Sable, ETA 11 minutes. Madeline's eyes widened slightly. She knew what those words meant. Former CIA operatives never truly leave the fold. We simply operate with more distance, more deniability. 11 minutes later, a black Suburban with no plates pulled up outside. 2 men exited, mid-30s, jeans and gray polo shirts, military haircuts, and the distinctive gait of special operators trying to look like civilians. Barlow. The taller one nodded toward my prisoners. These the freelancers. I nodded. Confirmed. Audio, video, and confessions secured. They efficiently restrained both hitmen. Applied cuffs, checked retinal patterns and fingerprints for identification. Standard protocol. The shorter agent glanced toward Madeline. What about her involvement level? No legal jurisdiction, I replied, but she's the client. He nodded, understanding the implication. In our world, clients usually disappeared along with the contractors. Cleaner that way. No loose ends. You want processing? He asked quietly. I considered it for exactly 3 seconds. The offer was clear. They would make her disappear. Clean, permanent. They'd make the problem evaporate like morning dew. No, I decided, I want her to live. To watch everything she had stripped away, piece by piece. Madeline sat slumped against the wall. Split lip, crusted with drying blood eyes, vacant as burnt-out buildings. No pleading, no screaming, just cold staring at me like I was the monster in this scenario. One of the agents handed me a tablet. Sign here, transfer of custody. I pressed my thumb to the screen, then entered my operational code, extraction route. I asked, secondary exit neighbor's yard, team 2 has containment. They efficiently removed the hitmen, leaving me alone with Madeline. The grandfather clock in the hall ticked heavily, counting down the final moments of our marriage. I tossed an envelope onto her lap. Divorce papers, property transfer, confirmation account, freeze notifications. All prepared days in advance. I'd known what needed to be done the moment I heard her arrange my murder. She opened it with trembling fingers. Her eyes transformed again from emptiness to pure desperation, as she realized the comprehensive destruction awaiting her. I sat down across from her, meeting her gaze directly. You won't die, Madeline. You'll live to watch yourself rot. The living room fell silent after the agents departed with their prisoners. Madeline remained on the floor. Dried blood crusted on her split lip. Her eyes were vacant, yet beneath that emptiness lurked unmistakable arrogance, the kind that survives even catastrophic defeat. I stood over her, a judge delivering a verdict without words. The weight of the moment settled between us like concrete slowly hardening. She broke the silence. First voice raspy but defiant. You think this is the end, don't you? Her fingers played with the edge of the divorce papers almost dismissively. So, I lose the house, big deal. I can start over. I have people behind me. People. I allowed myself a thin smile. You mean that coward Troy Slater? The man can't even make his car insurance payments. Her eyes flickered. I'd hit a nerve. I continued, my voice deliberately casual. While you were planning my murder, I was busy with arrangements of my own. I pulled out my phone, showing her a series of documents that had been finalized over the previous 72 hours. Financial first. All our joint assets have been transferred to a shell corporation I established in Delaware, untraceable, binding, legal. She tried to maintain her composure, but her left eye twitched. Your personal bank accounts are frozen, connected to a fraudulent transaction I carefully inserted into your financial history. The IRS is particularly interested in the unreported income you've been shifting to Troy's accounts. You can't, she started. Already done. I cut her off. Legal to signed by you. I tapped a document bearing her forged signature, perfect down to the slight upward curve of her E. Moving to legal consequences, I continued clinically. Anonymous documentation has been submitted to the IRS and state authorities regarding tax fraud and money laundering through my credit cards, all with corresponding statements and legitimate evidence. Her face paled slightly. Troy's being investigated for undeclared cash payments. His gym's assets will be seized within 48 hours. Both of you face civil suits from an investor I hired to entrap him in his business scheme. The legal fees alone will bankrupt him before the first hearing. I paused, watching this information sink in. Her breathing had quickened, fingers trembling slightly as they clutched the envelope. Socially, I continued, a carefully crafted dossier has been leaked to your friend group, detailing your affair, embezzlement from our accounts, and of course your attempt to have me killed for the insurance money. I showed her screenshots of text messages between her closest friends, horrified reactions, discussed decisions to distance themselves. Your social circle has initiated what intelligence professionals call a soft blacklist. You've lost every relationship you've built. You're now the neighborhood pariah, the woman who tried to murder her husband. Finally, her composure cracked. She lunged up from the floor, face contorted with rage. You loved me. How could you do this? I stepped back, not needing to dodge her weak attempt at aggression. Precisely because I loved you, I replied calmly. I understand exactly how to dismantle you without laying a finger on you. She collapsed back to the floor, strength ebbing, body shaking. I tossed another envelope onto the coffee table. Final paperwork, divorce papers with my signature already couriered to the court bank account, freeze confirmation property and vehicle transfer certificates, and a notice from the Oregon State Business Registry regarding the closure of Troy's gym. Madeline stared at each document with growing horror, mouth rigid, eyes reddening yet unable to produce tears. The systematic destruction of her life lay before her in neatly printed legal forms. She flipped through them with trembling hands, the reality sinking in with each page. Her carefully constructed exit strategy, the murder plot, the new life with Troy, the financial security, all of it demolished by the man she'd underestimated. You'll die alone and old, she hissed through clenched teeth. No one could ever love you. I allowed myself a cold smile. I choose solitude. You, on the other hand, will be reviled by everyone. 3 days after Madeline left the house became a vacuum. Silent except for the mechanical heartbeat of the grandfather clock in the hallway. Every tick echoed through empty rooms like a finger tapping on glass. I stood in my living room, surrounded by negative space. Following legal protocol, I'd packed all her personal belongings into 2 cardboard boxes now sitting on the front porch. Nothing more, nothing less than the law required. The law I'd nearly died for. The law that now served my revenge. I found our wedding photo on the mantel. 10 years ago, her eyes sparkled with what I'd mistaken for love. I didn't smash the frame or burn the image. Instead, I gently turned it face down and locked it in the steel cabinet in my office. Some memories don't deserve destruction, just permanent darkness. In the kitchen, the remains of her last breakfast offering still sat on the counter. Cold pancake syrup congealed into amber plastic butter, darkened and crusted at the edges. I hadn't cleaned it. Somehow, its slow decay felt appropriate. I picked up her coffee mug, lipstick stains still visible on the rim vermilion. Her favorite shade. I didn't smash this either. Instead, I washed it meticulously, scrubbing away every molecule of her, then placed it in the highest cabinet like ashes to be stored but never scattered. Victory didn't taste as I expected. There was no satisfaction, no vindication sweeping through me, just silence flowing like a rope tied around the neck of my past. That night I lay on the sofa, Glock tucked under the pillow. The threat was neutralized, but survival instincts never truly sleep. My mind replayed alternative scenarios with brutal clarity. If I hadn't been in that closet that night, if I hadn't heard her arranging my execution, she would have staged the perfect funeral. I could see it with painful vividness. Madeline in a tailored black dress dabbing manufactured tears with an embroidered handkerchief, accepting condolences with practiced grace, collecting the insurance payout. Kissing Troy behind my casket. No! I whispered to the ceiling. Never. 1 week after she left, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. A photograph, Madeline sitting next to Troy at some downtown bar. She was laughing, his hand resting possessively on her thigh. Both looking like phoenixes risen from the ashes I'd created. I studied the image dispassionately. Felt no anger, sent no reply, simply deleted it. What the sender didn't know, the bar's security camera showed a man in a black hoodie 3 tables away. One of many assets I still paid to monitor their movements. Not out of jealousy or obsession, out of tactical prudence. That evening, I opened my photo library and began the systematic purge, deleting every image containing Madeline, every wedding photo, every vacation memory I removed. All cameras that had ever captured her image, replacing the storage drives with fresh ones. No digital ghosts allowed. In the backyard fire pit, I burned every card, handwritten note, and inscribed book, all the gifts from our decade of marriage. The flames consumed paper quickly, but memories burned slower. One final action remained outside my immediate territory. I compiled a new dossier for the IRS, complete documentation of Troy's tax evasion schemes, with evidence of payments from female clients that he'd fraudulently classified as nutritional coaching. Attached was video footage I'd captured Troy propositioning clients to exchange sexual favors for specialized training packages. The investigation moved quickly. 3 weeks later, his gym was permanently shuttered. Assets, seized, charges filed for fraud and solicitation. When spring arrived, I sold the house and relocated to a cabin near the forests of northern Wyoming. No neighbors for miles. Mountains that didn't ask questions. A place where I could brew coffee at dawn and clean weapons at dusk without explanation. The question still lingered in my mind. Would anyone else betray me? But I stopped seeking answers. Some questions serve better as warnings than as puzzles to solve. On a crisp morning 6 months later, I sat beside a frozen lake, sunlight glinting off the old service weapon in my hand. The metal felt neither cold nor warm, just familiar. I had survived war zones where death came from invisible snipers. I had survived betrayal from the woman who shared my bed. I had survived an assassination attempt arranged by my own wife. But what truly kept me standing wasn't just survival. It was looking directly into the darkness and winning. Not with a bullet, not with death, but with the cold, calculated precision that had defined my professional life. I'd disassembled a murder plot with the same methodical care I once used to assemble rifles in the dark. The ice on the lake began cracking as morning temperatures rose, splintering in geometric patterns that reminded me of how quickly safety can shatter. I holstered my weapon and walked back to the cabin. Alone wasn't the same as lonely. Alone was a choice. My choice now. Behind me, I left no footprints in the snow, an old habit from operations in hostile territory. I never looked back. There was nothing there I hadn't already memorized, analyzed, and filed away. Some men are broken by betrayal. Others are forged by it. I chose the latter.